all for joining into today's webinar. This is Ron from DJI Enterprise team. Today, I'm going to spend some time talk about the FlightHub 2 on-premises version. You may have heard FlightHub 2 in the past. This on-premises version is something we just released in overseas market. Now, why don't we get started? To be noted that any information mentioned today regarding to the on-premises feature is based on the version 1.2, which is the latest version we just released last week. If there's any changes in the future that might be applied, we will update in the release note. So why don't we get started? First of all, today's webinar, we're going to divide it into three main parts, or mainly two main parts. First part we're going to talk about is the introduction for the on-premises solution. And then we're going to talk about the deployment. First of all, let's jump to the product introduction. And by the way, if you have any questions, meanwhile, feel free to send your questions in the questions section. And after today's webinar, I will be having a Q&A session to answer any questions you may have. So let's get started. About product introduction, these are the items we're going to cover. First of all is what is FlightHub 2 on-premises version, and how does it different compared to the public version you may have used already, and also covering some highlights and core functionalities of the FlightHub 2 on-premises version. Also for the developers, if you're a developer, you may be curious what's the difference when you're developing a solution on top of on-premises versus on top of public version. That's going to be something we're also going to spend time today covering. Then we're going to talk about the general use cases scenario, what kind of user may consider using FlightHub 2 on-premises. And last but not the least, we're going to talk about the package plans. Yeah, perfect. You probably already know what FlightHub 2 is. For those of you who don't know what FlightHub 2, it is a comprehensive SaaS, or meaning software as a service, that you use to manage your flight operations. Whether your flight operations is via automated flights through dock systems or manual flights. So it is a great platform to monitor multiple drone operations at the same place. And it's easy to access because it's SaaS. You can access the service directly on any browser, on any client's device. That means you can access it via tablet or on your laptop, or even on your phone temporarily. But it's also a great tool to collaborate with the ground crew, with the pilot on the ground, because the information is not flowing single direction. It's actually bidirectional. The annotations you draw on the FlightHub 2 can seamlessly transfer to pilot's screen. And let's say if you're doing search and rescue missions, you drop a pinpoint for the pilot to have a closer look. That pilot, using the DJI Pilot app, gets that information in real time. And this enhances the ground team efficiency a lot. And the ground team can capture data, whether it's mapping data, transmit that to the FlightHub 2 platforms. And by doing that, you're creating more like a back and forth communications between the command center and the ground team. This is just one example of doing search and rescue, but overall, it is also a great platform for managing your flight tasks. Whether you're doing waypoint flight tasks or complex flights, or you're creating a mapping task probably for a project, you are having. FlightHub 2, FlightHub 2 creates a pretty intuitive user interface for users to import their 3D model, whether it's mesh or point cloud, and build flight missions on top of that model. So that way, if you're doing inspection, you're getting pretty intuitive understand. You have a pretty intuitive understanding of what my field of view of my camera is and my aircraft position relative to the obstacles around it. All that functionality packed is in the FlightHub 2 public version we have. And in terms of the FlightHub 2 on premises, you guessed it. You're having that same functionality, same feature available you see on the FlightHub 2 public, but now even better because you can now host the entire service on your private server. What does this mean? So, as I mentioned, the public version of the FlightHub 2 is a SaaS or software as a service. You're calling it directly as it almost like it's a service. You don't actually have a computer to run the software. The software is hosted on AWS. The public version of the FlightHub 2 is hosted on AWS. So all you need is access it, right? But for the on-premises, it is something you can now have on your own server running in the background. And this is going to be a same service identical or the similar service identical to the public version, but you have the full control in terms of where the data is coming from and going to. So before we deep dive into the functionality of the FlightHub 2 on premises and the difference between it with the public version, just letting you guys know that last week we have released a big updates on FlightHub 2 on premises as well as the public version of the FlightHub 2. Some of the main functionalities and updates are following. Of course, we have released the flagship M400 drone. It's very exciting. The FlightHub 2 now supports that platform. You can create a waypoint mission. You can create a mapping task using FlightHub 2 now. Using FlightHub 2 now, and that supports H30, supports P1 and L2 sensor. We also now support a new patrol flight route. In combination with the AI recognition, you can now create patrol mission, and once the drone detects there's AI objects, recognition objects like people, vehicles, or boats, it's going to send an alarm to users via email. And you have real-time AI in virtual cockpit now. Also, that real-time AI recognition is supported under thermal image viewer. A lot of functionality. I'm not going to go through every single one of them because today we're going to focus on premises. But if you want to learn more about this new version, you can visit our FlightHub 2 user manual webpage, and under the release notes, you can find all these good information there. The on-premises version includes all these public versions, and in addition to the major functionality released in this version, we also have announced Open API, which is something our developers may also be interested. I'm going to cover that later in today's webinar. In terms of a device support functionality, or device support overall, on the aircraft, of course, the latest 400 RTK, as well as the previous 350 will be supported in FlightHub 2 on-premises version, as well as public version. The mission planning or mission editing currently is M400, but with FlightHub 2, you can also control and operate these aircrafts footage and get the live stream out of these devices and view the aircraft location using the FlightHub 2. Mavic 3 Enterprise series, Mavic 3 Enterprise thermal, Dock version thermal, Matrice 4 Enterprise series, Dock series, that means the first, second, third generation of the DJI Dock, all supported under the on-premises environment. And because of the recent update, we also support L2 and P1 with the M400 in mission planning. Accessory, the RTK3 relay station would also work within the FlightHub 2 on-premises environment, along with the speaker and spotlight attachment for the M400. Now let's talk about the main differences between on-premises version and the public version. So if you are a user switching from the public version of the FlightHub 2 to on-premises, these will be some differences you're going to expect. First of all, since the on-premises is a service you host on your own environment, there won't be much of a restriction compared to the online in terms of a service or in terms of a service quota. For example, live stream. You can now do the live stream as a standalone, because previously you need to use the public version of a FlightHub 2, and there is certain minutes you have to pay in order to obtain the live stream access and maintain the live stream access. However, the on-premises, you're essentially hosting that on your own streaming service via FlightHub 2 on-premises, and you don't have the minute limits. So you can do unlimited amount of video streaming. Firmware management is another aspect. So on public version of a FlightHub 2, if you're using Dock, DJI Dock series products, this is how you update the firmware by using FlightHub 2. Whenever we release the latest version of Dock firmware along with its drone firmware, we will release the firmware and push that to all the users, so they would see those firmware under their FlightHub 2 device page for them to update the firmware. FlightHub 2 on premises is slightly different. I have a slide later to cover this. Similarly, with the map service, since you're running the FlightHub 2 on premises completely offline, there are going to be some map tile files you need to prepare in order to have that overlay on top of your map viewer or for you to operate from. Organization management is very similar. However, with the FlightHub 2 on premises, we now support OAuth. That means you can use third-party system accounts to log into FlightHub 2. Also, the device log management allows you to export the Dock device log and the drone log directly into your server, and you can extract those log files remotely via your server. And because of the service is hosted locally, you need to maintain. And let's say if you're running out of storage, this is something that needs to be done on your side to expand the storage. Whether if you have a physical server, you need to add a hard drive into it. If you host FlightHub on premises on AWS or cloud-based environment, you need to expand your environment accordingly. So that maintenance part will be needed compared to the public version. So about map, on the left, I have basically how you would obtain the map information when you're using public version of the FlightHub. And on the right, I have the on-premises version. So for the public version, it's pretty straightforward. You're just calling the data from Google server. You're getting the map layer, whether it's satellite or street, directly from Google server. Now, if you want to host your offline on-premises version and don't want it to communicate with the public internet, then you need to prepare offline map tiles files. Now, these are going to be the files stored inside the on-premises server and to be overlaid on top of the user interface. So whenever you need it, whenever you open up the FlightHub 2 on-premises page, that customized that offline map tiles is going to show up as the foundation layer for you to operate on top. We support XYZ tile formats. We support MP tile formats. But make sure your projection is in the right projection system. You can follow our deployment manual. It's very detailed on how do you get these files prepared and load them into the server, under which directory, and how do you publish these map to the FlightHub 2 on-premises page. The firmware management is something we previously covered, but on FlightHub 2 on-premises, you get to control which version of the device firmware you want to publish it to the customers. So let's say we have this update coming out, and you haven't done testing, but you don't want your device, your dock, your drones running this untested firmware. You can actually upload the stable version of the firmware to your FlightHub 2 on-premises server and publish that version out. So all the users on their on-premises environment can only see the up-to-date version being the one you uploaded to the server. So you get to control which firmware you want your organization to use, whether it's drone, whether it's the relay station, or dock. So let's talk about the 4G enhanced transmissions. So the FlightHub 2 on-premises also supports 4G enhanced transmission. So how does this being done? So when we're talking about the public version, let's have a look how it actually works. So we have a 4G modem device built in, or you can install to the aircraft, as well as controller or the dock, in order for them to communicate using the 4G as alternative for video transmission link. So in this scenario, I'm going to use a laser pointer real quick. In this scenario, you have a 4G modem installed in the drone and 4G modem installed in the dock, and they communicate to the public network, and then the data gets transmitted to the FlightHub 2 public version. If you have a third-party integration that communicates using Cloud API or communicates via the Open API, that connection is also through public internet, right? And you have client devices accessing these data through FlightHub 2. This applies to both dock and the manually flight drones. But in on-premises versions, we're building this. We're essentially building this private service deployment, almost like a black box, or isolated box. All the device is still transmitting the data to this private service deployment via public network, but with APN configurations. So hardware-wise, everything remains the same. but there's additional APN configuration you need to set in order to get the data transmit back to the on-premises environment. And similarly, you can access this data or this transmission link using the client device from external network to the internal private service environment using VPN, or using if your network is configured to be port forwarding, so allowing you to access your internal network via external one, that's something achievable as well. If you have a third-party system in this case, that system is going to be deployed and based on the on-premises environment. So yes, the on-premises environment it also supports secondary deployment, meaning if you are having a third-party software wish to get it deployed on their on-premises environment, that is totally doable. So from the user perspective, the difference is what? Now I have a chart on the left side. Let's not focus on the right side for now. Let's focus on the left side for now. From user perspective, the difference between the on-premises version versus the non-on-premises version is going to be that live stream minute, because now you're hosting that live stream server. You're getting unlimited duration in terms of live stream. You're also having essentially unlimited capacity limit when it comes to storage capability and mapping capability, because you're maintaining that server hosting the FlightHub 2 on premises. Otherwise, as you can see, very similar when it comes to the professional or enterprise version versus the FlightHub 2 on-premises version. Next, let's talk about the highlights and the core functionality of the FlightHub 2 version. So you're getting the same experience, very similar experience of that user-friendly FlightHub 2. The deployment is extremely straightforward. We provide a deployment guide for everyone to follow, step by step. And now you have the capability to do data privatization, because every single service hosted is deployed under your own controlled environment. The entire system, the entire service can be operated completely offline, separated from the public internet. And we're not missing the capability to have third-party developers integrate software and servers on top of FlightHub 2 on premises. That is still possible. So these are the main core functionalities of FlightHub 2 on premises. Something you have previously you have probably already have seen in the past when using the FlightHub 2, if you have used FlightHub 2. Live streaming, you can get live stream directly from drones, from docks, you can use a virtual cockpit to control the drone products. If we're talking about the latest Latrice 4 series drones, along with M400, along with Dock products, you can use virtual cockpit functionality to use your computer keyboard to operate the drone, to take over command. You also have a flight route library. You can build missions. You can distribute out the missions once it's created to users' pilot app, to the pilot's controller, and for them to execute. You also have a model management. So the 2D model you created, the 3D reconstruction mesh, point cloud model you have, that's going to be something you can manage directly on the FlightHub 2, whether you want to overlap that model on top of the map layer, or if you want to do comparison. The task management is also going to be there if there's a task failed to complete, if the task is too big to be completed at one flight, it's going to get automatically separated into multiple subtasks to operate. And if there's any error issues, you're going to see error messages popped up under this task library page, task management page. And you also have media management, any photos, videos captured, going to all get stored in here along with the annotations you may have on top of these media. The device management is where you would manage your aircraft firmware, drone firmware, or dock firmwares. You can do quick troubleshooting of your dock device, and you can remotely power cycle your dock systems if there's any abnormal issues. You can also extract out the flight log and dock logs directly from this management page. Next, I have a quick video to show you. This video briefly covers the operational safety and functionalities we built to enhance the flight operation safety, also on the data security part. Now, this applies not only to the FlightHub 2, but also the OnPremises.
At DJI, we empower global users through cutting-edge technology, and safety always comes first. DJI FlightHub 2, the all-in-one cloud-based drone operations management platform, offers multiple safety features and data protection measures to ensure the security of both equipment and information. To confine drone operations to approved airspace, FlightHub 2 offers 3 geofencing options. No-fly zone blocks drone entry into sensitive or hazardous areas. Work zone restricts drones within a defined operational range, meeting regional regulations. No landing zone prevents landings on high-risk terrain like highways. For collaborative projects, FlightHub 2 enables precise control over access. Project Output Admin can only access flight data, cannot control the drone. New Project Device Operator can control the drone, cannot access flight data. New Project Device Admin can only maintain equipment. It also supports custom roles and permissions, enhancing the security of equipment and data. To better manage drone flight missions and processes, FlightHub 2 introduces a flight log feature. The flight log allows for real-time playback and review of flight paths, enabling users to view the drone's position, attitude, and actions at any given time. Both summary information and detailed data of the flight log can be exported as text, providing documentation for compliance audits. For maximum privacy, FlightHub 2 offers an on-premises version that can be set up in local networks or private clouds. It supports secondary development, allowing deep integration with other software systems. Independent front-end components enable rapid integration of route editing and cockpit functionalities. With OpenAPI, users have direct access to all FlightHub 2 features. The MQTT bridge deeply integrates cloud APIs, enabling cost-effective migration. To meet regional data storage requirements, data of Chinese users is stored on Alibaba cloud servers within China, while data of overseas users is stored on Amazon cloud servers, which are deployed in the US or Europe, allowing users to choose where to store the data as per their own preference. The DJI Dock solution integrates advanced geocaching and FTS to safeguard compliant operations, meeting EUC6 certification standards. Our triple protection automatically stops the drone's flight if it exceeds preset operational volumes and activates rotor stop protocols if emergency volumes are breached, ensuring airspace safety through intelligent management. In emergencies, Users can quickly land via the remote piloting page with one click, swiftly clearing the airspace. Emergency landings can be canceled or manually controlled to avoid obstacles. Post-landing coordinates will be communicated via FlightHub 2. FlightHub 2 is ISO 27001 and 27701 certified by British Standards Institution (BSI), ensuring robust information security and privacy compliance. We don't just innovate, we protect. Learn more at enterprise.dji.com/datasecurity or email datasecurity@dji.com.
Okay, so very short video covering the flight operation safety functionality we have integrated, along with the data security measures we have done. So in short, FlightHub 2 public version, when it comes to service, all the users in China, the data gets stored in Alibaba Cloud, and for the user data overseas, they're stored in AWS server. For example, in America, users' data stored in the AWS server located in Virginia. But for the on-premises version, you get to control where that data is stored because the server is yours. So that is the another main functionality difference and why actually most people may consider, why some people may consider using the on-premises solution, because it is deployed completely under a environment isolated from the public network. So that provides that option and possibility there. In addition to the unique deployment options or functionality to be completely isolated from the public network, the on-premises solution also supports the local reconstruction capability, just like what you see on the public version of the FlightHub. In order to achieve this, the DJI Terra processing core needs to be deployed along with the FlightHub 2 on-premises. And this enables the FlightHub 2 on-premises having the capability to do local reconstruction for both 2D orthomosaic map or 3D mesh / point cloud models. To be noted, this is not going to be similar to Terra API. This does not support SDK, and compared to the Terra PC version standalone software, the on-premises local reconstruction functionality does not support processing LiDAR, raw data, and multicultural data at this moment. Okay, now let's spend some time to talk about the secondary deployment capability. For this part, we're going to separate it into a few sections. First of all, let's have an overview of what we can do and deep dive into all the subcomponents. So on-premises solution, you're still getting that great cloud connectivity. Just like the public version, you get to transmit the live stream, you get to transmit the data, whether it's media or models. You can also assign flight routes from the third-party server to the on-premises server for the docks to execute. So when it comes to connectivity with third-party servers, you're not missing much when you're using the on-premises version. So these are going to be the core functionalities or components or for the developers to look into, and that's going to be the FlyHub Sync, Open API, front-end components, MQTT, bridge, and OAuth. So the FlightHub Sync you may have previously heard or have used. We were having a beta version for FlightHub Sync in the past. Now this is the official FlightHub Sync, so a lot of things has been changed. There are going to be something I like to talk about that is going to be the Open API, including the front-end independent components or front-end components we have. Support of MQTT bridging. This is something unique about OnPremises. The public version does not yet support the MQTT bridging, as well as the OAuth, allowing you to have a third party or allowing third party accounts to be used to log into the FlightHub 2 assistant, FlightHub 2 OnPremises. So why don't we talk about Open API first? So compared to the cloud API we used to have, the Open API is significantly better and simpler and more powerful overall. In addition to the functionality Cloud API provides, Open API enables enables a lot more degree of freedoms when it comes to development. In fact, our FlightHub 2 is based on top of the Open API. Think of it as a foundation layer. We built our software, in this case FlightHub 2, which is at the house on top of this layer. And this can be done as well by third-party developers. They can build the same software to achieve similar functionalities. But overall, our goal is to have the Open API to achieve some main, or we consider core functionalities for the third-party developers, so they don't have to reinvent the wheels, such as organization management. These are gonna be something we see a lot of third-party developers are building their own version. So instead of having different versions of the same functionality for developers to build, we have this interesting thing. It's called the front-end component. Essentially, consider front-end component is gonna be the sum of the it's gonna be the combination of a lot of core functionality together. So these are gonna be the three front-end independent components we released along with the Open API. And in the future, there's going to be more independent components or front-end components for developers. First of all is the flight route editor component. Users can now directly implement this user interface of flight route editor into their software. There's going to be many degrees of freedom for you to change and customization, but that functionality is going to, a developer can directly call and get these components embedded under their user interface. Same thing with cockpit components for operating the drone or the dock drone in live using the keyboard, and the control method is going to be the same when you're comparing it with the FlightHub 2. So user would no longer have to learn how to operate drone under the third-party platform. They can just get a similar or familiar user interface to use everything directly by using the third-party platform. Having the same functionality but under the third-party platform is great. And similarly, under projects, map components, which display all the projects you created, all the map missions you created, that familiar user interface is going to be very easy for user to adapt when user is switching to a third-party system that is using the DJI front-end component built based on the Open API. So this is exactly what I talked about, but instead of developing your own version of the core functionalities, we pack everything together and make those independent components for third-party ecosystem partner to integrate directly. This reduces a lot of effort to reinvent the wheel. This is a quick demo to show you how that works. So we're now under a third-party user interface, and this is a completely different system, not DJI Enterprise. However, by implementing the front-end components, you can have some core functionality of a FlightHub inside the third-party user interface, embedded in the user interface, and you get to customize, control how the visualization is going to look like, and this can be done under so user can do everything without leaving the third party software environment, but achieving similar results compared to the FlightHub 2. Okay, let's talk about FlyHub Sync. Previously, we have used FlyHub Sync beta for a while. Now, the user interface has been changed under the FlightHub public version / the on-premises version. You will find the user interface as shown upper right corner, and that pretty much integrates the MQTT bridging. This is FlightHub 2 on-premises, third-party auth, live stream forwarding, and most importantly, the file system or the file synchronization. So compared to the public version as well as the on-premises version, they both support live stream forwarding. You can configure the address for the FlightHub 2 to forward the live stream into. For the file synchronization, both support it. FlightHub 2 on-premises supports file synchronization. You can actually transmit the flight route models, flight records, and media files to third-party S3 bucket. And backwards, you can transmit flight route and models from third-party to FlightHub 2 storage. The device information synchronization on premises is achieved via the MQTT bridging, and the public version is achieved via the telemetry data. And in terms of OAuth, only on premises now supports OAuth. The user interface is changed up slightly as well for the file synchronization. Now we support resource synchronization configuration. So you can now get a notification or now manage and view the log. If there's a file that is supposed to transfer from FlightHub 2 to third-party S3 bucket, failed, and you can now have a log to view what exactly was causing the issue. Now, if you want to learn more information about this new FlightHub Sync, highly recommend you to go through the FlightHub 2 user manual webpage, and under the development, you'll find the FlightHub Sync. To be noted, there are two right now. One is the FlightHub Sync beta. The other one is actual FlightHub Sync we're talking about. So that's something you can check out. Authentication 2.0. This pretty much enables you to have a third-party software system to create an additional layer of a login before you reach out to on-premises user interface. So you can set this up, and we support the standard OAuth 2 protocol. So now you can set up your OAuth to log into your FlightHub 2 on premises. MQTT bridging. So when it comes to MQTT, the FlightHub 2 on premises can now broadcast the dock data, flight telemetry data, and drone telemetry data using the MQTT bridging, and that is possible using FlightHub 2 on premises. So now when we have a look for the developer differences, the cloud, the differences are here, over here on the right side. So you have on-premises version supports MQTT bridging, and on-premises version supports independent components via the Open API, and just compared to the difference between the on-premises and Pro Enterprise version, that's going to be the difference there. Again, if you want to learn more information about the secondary deployment, you want to learn more about Open API, what it's capable of doing, we have a detailed documentation under the Open API manual. So if you want to find the documentation, just simply go to the FlightHub 2 user manual and go to this custom deployment section, select the Open API. Under instruction, if you scroll all the way down, there will be a detailed documentation on Open API. And if you would like to find more information about the MQTT bridging, as well as how to set up OAuth, you can also find those information under the online manual, as well as the deployment manual. For the OAuth, you can find it under deployment manual. For the MQTT bridging, you can find it under the online manual we have. How do you get the deployment manual for the on-premises? You can visit this website here and find the document there. Next, what would be the typical users for the on-premises version of the FlightHub 2? Well, if you have a DJI Docks and you want to utilize these Docks hardware, probably you have 3 to 5 or even more. You're not using more advanced functionality, you just want to use basic functionality to operate the dock with. And most importantly, you want a reliable system or servers that is not going to interrupt your work from any updates or any uncertain issues may be caused because of the firmware updates. You're running a system under the same configuration, you're planning to run a system under the same configuration for years, then on-premises might be a better solution for you, because once you deployed, you leave it as it is, and it's just continuously operating as it is. And also, for users may have data security concern or want to deploy a system under a completely isolated environment away from the public internet, on-premises definitely will be an option as well for them. Let's have a look at the package plans. So when it comes to the package plans, we have 3 packages. The first one is going to be the basic package. This is the basic package you will need to acquire in order to use and deploy FlightHub 2 on premises. But in addition, we have device expansion package. So having, let's say if you want to expand your fleet to more than 1 docks, now you have additional docks, this will be the package for you to apply. And we also have upgrade validity period extension package. So let's say after 4 or 5 years, there's a new drone or new dock or new software functionality you like to use from the latest version of the FlightHub 2 on premises. This will be the attachment or the expansion package you need to get. The software, the basic package came with 1 year of software updates. So, but afterwards, you need to get an extension to keep the software up to date. But like I said, the on-premises version provides perpetual license. So you don't have to update the software to operate the drone or to operate the dock. So you're getting the same functionality by using the basic package that enables all the functionality, core functionality, offline reconstruction, enabled 4G transmission, enabled third-party integration capability with open API that is enabled. It has a permanent license for you to apply it on your environment, whether your environment is virtual or physical. Like I mentioned. So the device expansion package is gonna be, there's gonna be two options. The one is add one device. The second one is add 5 device. Obviously, add 5 device package will be slightly cheaper compared to the 5 times add 1 device. This will be the options for you to apply and consider. Depends on your fleet size and drone and drone program scale. The license activation code needs to be activated within 1 year. And how it works is once the activation code has been received, you can use that code to generate a offline activation license for you to unlock the access from your FlightHub 2 on-premises server. And when it comes to the upgrade validity, upgrade period extension package, it is per year per device. So let's say if you have 7 docks, and which requires 3 years of this is a given scenario. So if you have 7 devices, let's just call it docks. If you have 7 docks, it requires 3 years software upgrade period after initial deployment, which, as I mentioned, the first year is already included. So 3 minus 1 will be 2. 2 multiplied 7 will be 14 packages needs to be applied. So a lot of the people were asking actually about what would be considered as a device. So if you have a dock, the dock is consistently online. Assume it is consistently online, because how dock operates is a standby system ready for operation, right? So that would be considered as a one online device. If you're operating FlightHub 2 on premises and only use it for drones, not dock versions, online device meaning will be meaning like the drone will be turned on and connected and providing live stream service to the FlightHub 2 on premises and pushing that live stream data to FlightHub 2 on premises service. So essentially, any dock connected to the FlightHub 2 on premises or FlightHub 2 overall will be considered as an online device. It's probably easier to think. Okay, next we're gonna move to the deployment instruction. Well, this big section can be divided into 3 parts as well. So we have basic concepts to help you better understanding some background information. Then we're going to talk about how to set up the environment, prepare the environment before we actually do the deployment. So let's talk about the basic concept first. First of all, FlightHub 2 on premises is deployed via Docker. If you have heard of a Docker in the past, if you know what Docker is, if you don't know what it is essentially a containerized environment. So think about a software, like whenever we need to install a software, it is gonna be a package for you, right? But that package itself may not contain the critical dependency files for the software to run smoothly and smoothly. So, for example, if you purchased a, let's say a vacuum cleaner, right, and it is wireless, and the battery is not a AAA battery, it's proprietary battery to be worked with that vacuum cleaner, and in that scenario, you will need to prepare a box. When you give this vacuum cleaner to someone else for them to use, you will need to prepare this vacuum cleaner along with its proprietary battery, right? So you put everything together into a box or into a container almost, and you give them to the person who want to use your vacuum cleaner. Essentially, what that container is going to be the dock, and that vacuum cleaner, along with its battery, is going to be FlightHub 2 on premises. So getting Docker is fairly easy because you don't have to worry about the dependency, because every user may have a different environment. They may have a different computer they want to run FlightHub 2 on premises on. So having the software deployed via Docker is going to be a lot easier. And secondary, we use Linux. So the FlightHub 2 on premises is deployed on the Linux environment. There are going to be reasons behind that. In case you don't familiar with Linux environment, it is different compared to the operating system we perhaps familiar, which is Windows or Mac. FlightHub 2 is gonna be deployed under Linux environment. The reason is we select Linux is because Linux itself integrates seamlessly with containerization, and it has a great community when it comes to self troubleshooting, and overall it has a better cost saving, and it's more stable because we're not actually deploying the service on a licensed operating system, so that saves cost. And overall, it's stable and efficient. And one thing to be noted, there are different architecture of machines. That's why you have different architecture versions of operating systems. Our x86 is going to be the most common one. So that is the architecture FlightHub 2 on premises supports at this moment. Some Mac devices or machines, they're running ARM architecture with a different type of architecture. If you want to deploy FlightHub 2 on premises, you need to have a x86 architecture machine or server. Next concept we're going to run into is GUI versus CLI, or graphical user interface versus command line user interface. So just to make your life harder, the FlightHub 2 on premises, the deployment process is through CLI or command line interface instead of a GUI. And there's also a reason behind that. First of all, if you install a software on your computer, generally that process is going to be you download the package, installation package, you double click on that installation package to run the wizard, and you just follow that wizard to define the installation path, and you just click next until it gets installed. Well, FlightHub 2 deployment installation isn't like that. There's a reason we use CLI, and there's benefits for using CLI as well. So when it comes to graphic user interface, there's a lot of limitation in terms of flexibility and degree of freedoms. Typical user for using GUI will be end user clients, beginners, and it's extremely intuitive to use graphical user interface because you see what you want to do. It's pretty intuitive. When it comes to CLI, when you need to play around with it, when you want to execute certain command for the computer, you need to memorize some command codes or command lines. Sorry. This creates a somewhat entry barrier for users, but it is a lot more efficient, a lot more flexible, and requires a lot less system resource when it comes to deployment. When it comes to hosting any on-premises software. So with that being said, our FlightHub 2 on-premises deployment manual does have a pretty straightforward and very detailed deployment guide for you to follow step by step, including the command lines for you to apply in the terminal. But there are going to be some CLI commands you will have to know in order to proceed with the installation. There are many videos on YouTube covering these. I'm just going to cover some essential ones. You will need to know what it does when it comes to installing the FlightHub 2 on premises. So first one will be command CD. When you're in command user interface, a command line interface, type CD and hit space, then and add the directory would access the directory you want to open to. So this is equivalent to, let's say, double clicking a folder on the desktop. So you want to get into the folder of your from your desktop. So you double click it with your mouse, right, on the graphical user interface. In the command line interface, instead of doing that, you need to type CD space and then directory to get into that directory. If this is necessary example for you to access a file within the directory you want to access to, so that's our first command line interface. The second one would be mkdir, another frequently used ones. So let's say you want to create a new folder or a new directory for your FlightHub 2 on premises installation. You go to your directory, you say, okay, I want to make a folder. Type mkdir, then space. If you want to create a folder, name the data, you just add data after the space. That's going to create a folder named data. Similarly, if you type install, that's going to create a folder named install. The reason we do these two is because you need to create your own folder, and these folder will be used for installation files as well as your FlightHub 2 on premises data collected. Next one we have is mv or move command. This command move certain files to a different directory. If you want to move files, just mv space, then type that name of type the file name and hit space again to apply your new directory. That's gonna move your file from one directory to different directory. You will need to learn this in order to move your license file to the installation directory, or move your media or move your map files to the directory, to the installed directory, and to be applied in FlightHub 2 on premises. So that is move. CP or copy files. If you want to copy a file from one directory to another directory, CP will be the command for doing that. So CP space, then your name, the name of the file, then another space, then apply the directory. That's going to copy the file you defined to the directory you defined. Number 5 is ls. This is going to list out all the files and subdirectories or folders under the current working directory. So if you're in a folder that you want to check all the files and folders underneath this folder, you type ls and hit enter, that's going to show you everything, every files and sub directories listed. PWD, that's going to print out your current directory, so it helps you understanding where you're at, whether you're on the desktop directory or on the download directory. This helps you know where you're at. So these are the file structure commands you need to know, and obviously knowing these would definitely help you deploy the FlightHub to on-premises by following our guide, but we definitely recommend you to learn more CLI commands to help you troubleshoot in the future if there's any issues. Understanding the basic concepts, now we need to prepare the actual development environment. So before we applied our actual license, paid license to the FlightHub 2 on-premises server, we highly recommend you to apply for a trial first and make sure the system is running before you apply the actual license, because the license is perpetual, and once it's bind, it cannot be unbind. So that is needed. So it is highly recommended for you to try the software first. In terms of device or server requirements, we do have requirements in terms of operating system and the Docker version, as well as the hardware requirements in terms of a server spec. But overall, when we are talking about software, it needs to be running Ubuntu server version 22.04 long-term support version. The Ubuntu server 22.04 long-term support, that is simply a version of Linux. You can think of it. You can download this image and deploy this under a virtual AWS server or virtual cloud server or your physical server. Along with that operating system, you also need to have Docker installed, which the given version are following. When it comes to the hardware spec of your FlightHub 2 on-premises machine, it depends on the scale of the drone fleet. So, for example, if you want to, for example, a machine that is handling 5 docks working simultaneously is going to be different compared to a machine that is hosting 20 docks, having them running simultaneously, right? So the given recommendation is to have an 8-core CPU, 32 gigabytes of a RAM, and about a terabyte of a data disk. Now, that storage, the 1,000 gigabyte storage, that really depends on how many data you plan to store inside a FlightHub 2 on-premises. But when it comes to this, supporting 20 docks online simultaneously and viewing the stream, that's gonna be on the CPU, cores, and memories. So if you plan to have 20 docks working simultaneously, 28, this is like the given recommendation, the configuration, which is 8-core CPU, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Around 50 docks, that will be nearly double. So 16 cores CPU, 64 gigabytes of RAM. And for the speed, the network speed, we recommend the server needs to have a fixed IP with at least 100 megabits per second symmetric. That means upload and download. That's only system requirements. In addition, to this, if you plan to have Terra Core or private Terra deployment, also to support the local reconstruction functionality in FlightHub 2 on premises, you also need to have a NVIDIA graphics card in your server for handling that processing need. But it's not required in case you need to have that local processing capability. Now, you have the server ready, you have the license ready, or you have the activation code ready, should I say. Now we can actually start the deployment. So these are going to be the very general steps when we break down every major milestone when it comes to deployment. First, you create a license, extract that installation package, getting the environment configuration file filled, and install the actual license, then start the actual installation and deployment, then log into the FlightHub 2 on-premises system, create an organization and your first project, then import your offline map file and publish your map file, import your offline elevation data, publish that offline elevation data, then bind your device, whether it's a drone or dock, and test the device and make sure the data transfer and all the functionality in the FlightHub 2 works. Also, if you have a Terra privatization deployed, you can also check out the processing procedure to make sure the FlightHub 2 on premises can now output 2D model and 3D models. So highly recommend you to go to our FlightHub 2 on premises servers website and go to deployment manual to access this detailed deployment manual step by step. For any device you plan to connect to on-premises environment, also make sure to go to firmware update page there to check out the latest version of the firmware of the device firmware that supports on-premises environment. First, we need to create a license. So there's going to be a fingerprint generation tool you can access from that manual I was talking about. So download that tool and get that tool transferred to your Ubuntu server and run that fingerprint generation file. So what this does is it generates a fingerprint file which has the unique, think of it as a hardware identity file. So it knows what your device is. So it would create, later on, it will create a license that can only be activated under this machine. So this is important. That's why I said it might be easier for you, or might be wise for you to run a trial first, making sure everything works before you apply the actual paid license. Then you're gonna upload that generated files from your Linux server to the developer website and wait for your license to get approved. Once your license gets approved, you would be able to download the actual license file. Next step is to extract and download. First of all, download the installation package that is roughly about 20 gigabytes. You download that installation package, you transfer that package to Linux environment, and you unpack that license extraction. You unpack that package. And within the unpacked package, you will find this file called env. That is going to be the environment files. So this is basically the configuration file for your on-premises servers. For example, what is going to be your internal IP address? What's going to be your external IP address? you will configure your own auth here. You will configure different ports you used for front end, for back end. So to modify this file, you can type under the directory, installation directory first, using the cd. Remember, that's command line interface we were talking about, using those commands to get to the installation directory. Then use nano. Nano is a editor viewer of the file. So add nano space env to getting this file and edit this file correspondingly. So for example, we have a GPU Docker IP. So this is the Terra privatization IP address you need to configure it. So and 4G API host. And if you scroll down, you will find the installation path. So this is the installation directory you define for getting the FlightHub 2 installed. So this installation package, once you define all the criteria or all the lines here, save this file, overwrite this file, and before you actually doing the installation, you're gonna first install that license. We have a command line for you to follow. It's basically /install license.sh and space and directory to that file, to that license file. And that's it. Once it's completed, it's going to show you installation completed. That's your license getting installed on your machine. And now you can actually do the installation and deployment. So under the root installation directory, which is the folder you unzipped, unpacked, get into that directory file and execute a command using the /setup2 space install. That's going to start installing the service. And because you previously defined the installation path and the data path, basically follow this and you'll get the service installed. Once the device service is installed, you can access the FlightHub 2 user interface now using the whether it's external IP or internal IP. Depends on how you configure it. This will be the first page you would see from the user from the web browser once you log into FlightHub 2 system. Then you need to use the activation validator to activate a service. Basically, using there will be a website for you to open up on your phone browser and use your camera to scan this QR code and apply the number given on the phone and to activate a service. This is a one-time activation needed, and that's it. You have, after you finish that process, you technically have the FlightHub 2 on premises deployed. Now there's just going to be additional data you need to prepare for the operation. First of all is going to be the map data. As I said, you need to prepare offline map data, and we support MB tiles. That's probably more common format for the map file you would use for FlightHub 2 on premises. So first of all, get the map tile, MB tile files, download it, and move it to the given directory, and modify the map configurations to call this MB tiles under this directory over here that will be stored under env. Now this is after you install, you'll find this file and open up this file, modify this, and have the link direct you map tile. After you have configured this, just simply execute the publishing command, and from there you would publish your map to the cloud, or to the on-premises, not cloud. Similarly, for the elevation, but for the elevation, we have a tool for you to apply the minimum latitude, minimum longitude, maximum latitude, maximum longitude, for you to draw a rectangle of your operation area and download the elevation data for the given area. And once that data gets downloaded with the given command in the deployment guide, you can publish it as well using the building function to publish the elevation data within a given space to FlightHub 2 premises. Once that gets uploaded and published, you'll find load elevation data 100%. And now when you log into FlightHub 2, you have offline map, offline elevation ready to go. And the next step is to bind your device. Now, whether you're using Dock or you're using a drone, you need to configure your pilot app to select. This is for the Dock operation, Dock 2 configuration. So within this is Pilot 2 app. So within the cloud service configuration page, after you apply the address and the default code behind the given IP address, you would need to fill out organization ID and device binding code. This is just like the public version FlightHub for setting the device up. And from there, you are ready to go. You can verify the live streaming from the FlightHub 2 user interface. Make sure you can see the live stream from both the dock and from the drone. Let's see, the next is, once you have done that, you can also check out the maintenance platform, which is at the port 3800. This is by default. Once you're under this port, you can, let's see. You can check the auto container status, make sure everything is healthy, the license activation status, and more information from the maintenance platform. So that is everything about the deployment on the FlightHub 2 on premises. Pretty much following the deployment guide, so highly recommend you to read through the deployment manual carefully, step by step. So let's talk about the scale profile for deploying FlightHub 2 on premises overall. As we pretty much covered, some recommended scales there for you if you want to get it deployed, or for someone if you want to hire them to get the deployment down. So if overall, I think the most important thing is the Linux fundamentals, getting used to know how to use a command line interface. That's gonna be essential thing you have to know when it comes to getting the file transferred, getting the server prepared, getting the network configured correctly, and when it comes to maintaining these servers, better to have an experience on any contain. And when it comes to troubleshooting and networking, a lot of issues is probably gonna happen on the network side and not being configured properly, especially when you're trying to use the on-premises service via the public network. So not configuring the network properly, setting up the port forwarding correctly could cause the access issues, permission issues. In order to resolve those, we need to make sure having a brief understanding on how to do troubleshooting and get those issues resolved. Okay, so that was everything about today's